Canada, just like Lance Storm. And he's now residing in Singapore. He's had comics published by Alterna, Marcosia, Insane Comics, and Top Cow. We have Mr. Rod Espinosa here, who has a degree in advertising art from University of Santo Tomas. He's worked for various companies in the fields of advertising, software, entertainment, and film before finally settling to the life of a comic book writer and artist. Among his notable works include The Courageous Princess and Neotopia, which earned him nomination for Promising New Talent and Best Artist at the Ignatz Awards, Best Title for Younger Readers in the 2002 Eisner Awards, and among others. His graphic novel Neotopia even had a German edition called Novotopia, which was released in 2006. And everyone knows Sir Gerry Alanguilan. Who does not know Gerry Alanguilan? He's been creating comics since 1992. He's best known for creating Wasted, Elmer, Johnny Balbona, Rodsky Patotsky, and the Lagong Baby. And he's, of course, the favorite inker of Lane and Yu. And he's currently all set to explode in Humans vs. X-Men in Marvel Comics. Okay, so welcome, gentlemen. Since it's about indie comics in the US, would you mind telling us how you got your start in comics and how it was invading the US market for you guys? Anyone can
Go
start.
ahead. You start.
Oh, no, me. Alright, English ba tayo? English ba tayo for your sake?
Yeah.
Do you understand Tagalog?
No.
No.
It's not.
Okay, I'll just say I started in 1998. How do I say this? I began my comics career just joining people, you know. If somebody had money, and it was my neighbor, he had some money and he wanted to self-publish, and he says, I have 8 pages at the back of my comic book. Would you like to put a, whatever story? And I said, yes. That's my first advice to anyone. Just say yes, and join somebody. If you can't afford to publish your own, just make a short story at the back of somebody else's book. That's how I started. And so from there, I just sent my work in an art press, and luckily they accepted it. And in 2000, I moved to Texas because I already did Courageous Princess, the first book. I wasn't doing too well sales-wise. So I said, maybe it's not what I want. My career isn't working out. This was in 2000. I said, I think I want to quit comics and become a cook. Because anybody familiar with my Facebook, I post, my cooking things there. So that's kind of my second hobby. So the editor said, no, don't quit. Just come on down to Antarctic Press, work for us full time, and we'll give you a salary as an employee. So I did that. So it was like 12 happy years later, here we are. We're still doing it. But I'm no longer employed with them. I'm full time now. So it was scary at first, not having a paycheck. But yeah, you just get used to it. And like 7 years already, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm no longer an employee. So every year you have to go, oh yes, I have to pay taxes. So yeah, so it's a lot of struggle, but that's just a short version. I don't want to take too much time. Go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
for me, it was, I grew up in Canada, so I was close to North America as you can get, right? So that was the only industry I could actually break into, right? Because it was the one that was there. But what it was like, I've been only doing this 5 years now. 5 years, that's it. And I started just by having an idea for a story. Wanted to make it as a movie. Obviously, I can't fund a movie. And I started researching on how to write a comic book and get a comic book put together. And I was very naive when I first started thinking, okay, yeah, I'm gonna write this comic book. I'm gonna get an artist right away, we're gonna pitch it, Image is gonna pick it up, I'm gonna be famous, and of course that's not how it works. And I found out right away, okay, like I've gotta do anthology stories. And anthology stories are just like Rob was saying, is just little stories that you're putting in, right? So I started the exact same way you guys are starting if you're making your own individual comic books. Is you just make a small little comic book, and then you make another one, and then you make another one. And then I got one anthology story picked up, and then another one, then another one. Beg artists to worked with me, and then eventually somebody said yes, because we both needed to be published. I did those individual stories, then that led to the other ones, and so on.
Okay, in I think around 2005, I've been inking for Marvel or DC for 10 years already. And I wanted to break into the business back in the early days, 1995 or so, as a penciler.
Yes.
I wanted to do that, but I got into inking. But still, after working for 10 years as an inker, I wanted to break in as a penciler. But as time went on, all of these new artists came in. After Lainil, Harvey, and Stephens, no way I'm going to compete with these guys. These guys are too good, you know. And I started to think, I had to re-examine what I wanted to do with my career. And I thought I had this somewhat successful book locally called Wasted. And I thought writing could be a strength of mine. And I thought I could do this. And this is what I would use to compete with the others.
Right.
If I can compete on a penciling level, I could compete on a writing level. So I thought not only would I release my comic book here, I will try to release it abroad. You know? So that's I quit inking full time just to concentrate on writing and drawing my own stuff again.
Yes.
That's when I created stuff like Humanist Rex and Timawa and of course Elmer. When I created Elmer, I really intended it to find a publisher for it abroad in the US. So I tried to, of course I wrote it in English.
Yes.
And perhaps mistakenly, I tried to make it as generic feeling as possible.
What do you mean by genetics?
I didn't have any specific places. I didn't say this was happening in the US or in Quezon City or in any country. It was a generic place. It could happen anywhere. No? But later on, I learned that it was useless because reviews said that it was so Filipino. So I shouldn't really deny it anymore.
That's right.
Anyway, I created the first issue, and I thought a way for this to be read is to really distribute this for free. So
Ashcan edition, sir?
no, I printed 1,000 copies of it from my own on my own, and I pretty much gave away a lot of copies to reviewers, not only locally but abroad.
Nice.
I've been sending it to all sorts of reviewers. By this time, I've been working in the industry for a long time, and I've been cultivating relationships with reviewers and other people who has an internet presence. I think this is important.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I've been in somewhat friendly correspondence with people like Tom Spurgeon, Heidi MacDonald, a few other writers and reviewers online, including other writers like Stephen Grant, because Stephen Grant would sometimes review comic books. So when that first issue of Elmer came out, I sent them all copies. You know? And then I think out of the 1,000 copies of Elmer I did, I think I gave away maybe 200 of it. And I also made a free copy online. I made a torrent file. I seeded it myself. I joined a torrent site and I seeded it myself. And I put up Elmer on my site as a CBR file so people can read it using a comic book reader. I really tried to distribute it as much as possible. And then spending a lot of money sending it abroad, which is not cheap.
Right.
Even just one issue cost me a lot to send. So it was very soon a lot of the money I accumulated inking. Pretty much drained. The first issue got somewhat good, somewhat okay response from people. It got a positive response from Top Shelf because I sent them a copy, and Chris Taros expressed interest in it, but apparently not much in the end, because in the end he said we can publish this. I also sent it to a lot of other publishers, and they sent me they pretty much expressed interest, but maybe
Not enough interest.
Yeah, not enough interest. They would be very enthusiastic, but later on, no. So I kept on creating the comic book. First issue, second issue, third issue, fourth issue. This is
It's a labor of love, sir.
This is several years now,
Yeah.
because I started Elmer 2006. This was now 2008. I've been sending it constantly every issue. What I did with the first issue, I did with the rest of the issues, except that I didn't offer issue 2, 3, and 4 for free online, because I wanted, if people wanted to read the rest, they had to buy it.
Yeah.
So anyway, by 2008, I was losing hope that it would get published abroad, because there's so many interests, but not so much. Like I said, it wasn't until I saw a tweet by Jennifer de Guzman of SLG Publishing.
Okay.
She said that she was actually ranting online and saying that people keep sending SLG unfinished projects, and the only thing they're interested in are finished projects.
Okay.
So I thought I'll send them on. Then I forgot about it.
Yeah.
And then after all these years, a publisher in France saw a review in Tom Spurgeon's site
Yeah.
and was interested in looking at it and asked me to send everything to him. And I sent it. I sent the entire issue to that guy in France. And hey, I want to publish this.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh my God, it's going to be published." And then soon after, SLG emailed and said, "Hey, we want to publish this."
Nice.
So it's pretty much after so many years,
Yeah.
there's so much money and so much effort. Finally, somebody expressed interest in
Yeah.
publishing it, and that's how it got
It
published.
just kind of took a while to reach
Yeah, took a
people who
while.
wanted to really publish it.
Yeah, took a while, and took a lot of money, took a lot of time and effort.
Would either of you say you can sympathize with what Sir Gerry went through as far as the challenge of getting your stuff published in the US?
I think so, yeah. Like that's the everyday story. Is that you just do it, and a lot of it's timing. Like you got to think that every single publisher, they're seeing thousands
Yeah.
of submissions a month, right? And majority of them are bad. And so after a while, and they're not complete. What Gerry was saying is that like publishers want that. Like I know Image says, hey, let's see your 5 to 8 pages for your pitch. Well, that works when you're Mark Miller. You know, that doesn't work when you haven't done anything yet, right?
Yeah.
So I always say, hey, let's finish the first issue,
Yeah.
and then we'll pitch it. And the reason being is because one, if the publisher's going to take it, what's the first thing they're going to ask you to do anyway? Finish the first issue.
Yeah.
So if you send them the first issue, they see you're committed, and 2, they already see their sales that, okay, well, the first issue's done, we're that much closer to getting this book out, right? Because they're not gonna release the first issue until the third issue's halfway done,
Mhm.
right? Because they wanna have it on a monthly, if not bi-monthly basis, right? So they see time that way, right? And so, in fact, the publisher I'm published with, they won't accept your pitch right now unless it's completed.
Mm.
So if you have a 3-4 issue miniseries, it's gotta be completed before they'll take it.
Mm.
Because the publisher I work with just dropped 6 books this last month because they had the first issue done, which is in their submission guidelines, is completed first issue, cover for the second issue, and show us the script for the second issue. And they dropped 6 books because they never got past that first issue.
Would it be because they're considering they don't want to have a backlog?
No,
They just want something that's complete already.
Well, because the thing is that life happens, time happens, everything happens, right? It's a lot of work to do.
Stuff gets in the way.
It's a lot of work to complete a comic book.
Right.
Like I'm just doing the writing side. I can imagine doing the drawing side as well. How much time it takes, right? And so they, like an indie book will probably take. I mean, I ask my guys 1 page a week. That's all I ask my guys. At minimum, give me 1 page a week. You know, if penciler give me a page, inker give me, you know, like it's a assembly line, right? But a page a week puts you on a 3 to 5 month basis or timeline for 1 issue, right? Because you're looking at 20 pages, 1 page a week, it's 4 to 5 months, right? So that's a schedule we can work on, and most indie publishers will agree to. But yeah, like it's just people not getting the work done. Like the real work starts after you've been picked up, people. The real work starts after you've been published. Because that's when you have to back up what you've promised, and you also have to hustle. You have to be out on the internet and promoting and doing all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like sending off copies to reviewers. Like that's not the publisher's job. That's your job. Nobody's gonna care about your book more than you will. Like even your mom doesn't care about your book as much as you do. You think the publisher is? Right? And the publisher's got like 20 books he's gotta juggle. He can't be all there. So you gotta be the guy who hustles that.
Yeah, from a publisher's point of view, they usually demand you get like three episodes actually. I work for NRA Press as a submissions editor actually, and
Oh, so you're the one who turned my book down?
no, yours is recent, you know. I don't remember.
I'm just joking.
No, I haven't worked with them in years, so. But I still get email every now and then. Somebody still thinks I'm the submissions editor. I said, no, forward it to somebody else. But anyway, it has to do with the solicitation cycle. So if anybody here seen previews that comes out, usually what is it, 3-4 months in advance.
Yeah.
So it has to be in there. Issue 1 has to be finished by the time previews comes out, you know. And then of course you gotta print it, you gotta make it. So, you know, people fall behind. You know, they'll go on issue 2 and issue 3, they'll start stumbling. And the thing is, the publisher will need well, it's best if you have like all 3 episodes or more, or the whole series complete before you even begin, because it will catch up to you, the monthly nature of it. That's how some people say, oh, I just want a every other month schedule or whatever, whatever you want to work out with a publisher. But yeah, it's pretty tough, you know, once you get on that little treadmill. So once you get in, like Kelly said, you know, that's where the real work begins, because you have to do everything yourself. When I was in Arabic, you know, I fetched my own books from the printer even, you know, fetched my own books, get them to the trucks, and that diamond truck comes every week. Yeah, like put it all in there, you know. So sometimes you gotta fetch them far away, like distance-wise, you know, because Antarctic was based in San Antonio, and sometimes when you order a book from China, these are the logistic problems, you know. But I'm sharing it with you anyway. And when they order books from China, they arrive there 3 months later. But the book has to be done 3 months in advance, you know, and it has to be shipped. So it comes in, and the thing is, the trucking company says, "Oh, we only deliver to Houston." What do you mean you only deliver to Houston? You know, if you've seen the map, that's not a long drive, you know. That's like from here to somewhere like Ilocos or something like that. It's a long drive. So I don't go over there, get a U-Haul, you know, artists, we're gonna fetch our own books, you know. Our own books and books of other people. So we're gonna fetch our own books. So that's the life, you know, you know, it was fun because you were with other artists and you were all suffering together. You know, so,
company.
yeah. So you're driving a U-Haul, you're talking about ideas, you know. My most memorable time was me and Brian Denham. I don't know if you know him, the artist of Iron Man. He worked for NRA Press, so he's still there. He's working for NRA Press still. So he did Iron Man and he did Green Hornet. I don't know if anybody picked that book up, but he did stuff for IDW. But yeah, so he was driving and I was in the shotgun seat of this truck. You know, we're gonna fill the truck with books from Houston, drive them back to San Antonio, and then that's where the diamond truck comes by in front of the NRA Press office. So I gotta get there. So I gotta fetch them from this warehouse at the airport because the truck won't bring it in further. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do that. So he smells like cigarettes. Like, he's not too of a smoke. So we pull out the little cigarette thing, you know, the cigarette ashtray, and it was full. And as he was trying to empty it, everything flew back everything flew back into the cab, and we were like, oh! And it's filled with ash, and we were filled with ash, you know. And the car ahead of us, Lee, one of our editors, happened to look back and said, "What happened with you guys? Was there a snake in the truck?" And I said, you know, there was this cigarette ash flew all over the place. So Brian swerved a little bit, but that was Yeah, it was fun, you know, you look back at it, you can smile about that, you know? But of course, you're doing that as you have like, you left pages, you got to do pages, you know, and even at the office itself, it's a small office, and they don't even have cleaning staff. So I'm the one
Wow.
mopping the toilet, you know, you gotta do everything, you know, that's the life of an artist, you know, you gotta do everything. So I was mopping the toilet, because you know, we Filipinos are cleanliness obsessed.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like, it's a filthy toilet. Dude, I'm gonna keep using that too. You know, so you do everything.
Okay.
There's actually another option.
Okay.
You can actually publish it yourself
Okay.
here in the Philippines.
Right.
And then somebody actually did this.
Okay.
Jamie Bautista of Nautilus
Yeah, yeah,
Comics
Nautilus, yeah.
actually published issues of Cast himself, and then he solicited the books with Diamond himself.
Oh.
And he shipped the books to the US himself.
How that work? Did it work?
It's so expensive.
Yeah.
But I think what made it less expensive was that he knows a pilot who would carry the books.
Nice.
Right.
Nice one, Jamie.
Yeah.
Nice one, Jamie.
See?
And then I think he only stopped doing it because not too many people ordered the books.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a nice dilemma to have. Well, as Sir Gerry mentioned earlier, he explored going online, not just publishing the hard copies. Would either of you consider that as an option in future publications, as far as invading the U.S. market?
I think an online presence is a must in this day and age. Like if you don't have Twitter, if you don't have Facebook, if you don't have Instagram, I mean, some people, they make their careers on Pinterest or
Right.
all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I'm the submissions editor for Insane Comics as well, and we look at a bunch of things, right? One, do you have an online presence? Because that's how we're going to be able to sell.
Yeah.
Like you got to be able to find. That's where the reviewers are. That's where the publishers are. That's where the
Even the audience.
the customers are, exactly. And so as a publisher, if I'm looking at you and I see 200 Twitter followers, that's X number of sales in my mind, right? Because I can assume some are friends, I can assume some are family, I can assume some are just Joe Schmo, right? But the more you have, the more sales it looks like, right? Because I need you, when you're making a tweet about your book, or the publisher that you get picked up by and all that, I need that to reach as far as I can, right? But I also need to know that you're also on there and you're interacting. I need to know that you are making posts. I need to know that you're making proper posts. That you're not like, if you want to work for Marvel and DC, it's not a good idea to make tweets about how bad their movies are, you know, or oh, I hate this, or I hate that, you know, like think about your presence, right? Even just what you're saying as far as political stuff goes, right? You have to watch that because you're representing somebody at that point, right? And the other thing about the books, about why they like them being completed, is because if they're late, it looks bad on the publisher.
Yeah.
Right? If you're late and they, like if we take the book, we don't even announce it until you've completed that second book or that third book. Because until those are done, if I announce that and say, hey, spring, 2017, this book's coming out, and it doesn't come out, that looks bad on the publisher.
Yeah.
Right?
Like you made a promise and you couldn't keep it.
Exactly. So that's why a lot of them are just held back. They won't announce it. Same with Image. Image doesn't announce it until all of a sudden, boom, it's in diamond solicitation,
Yeah.
which is third issue's already done, right? And then, I mean, we're talking about guys who are like, Ed Brubaker and all these guys. Like, we're talking about guys who are the top level and they're still not announcing their stuff, right? Because things happen, life happens. Somebody a couple years ago, who was it that broke his arm? There was a penciler.
George Perez.
Yeah,
George Perez had problem
yeah, with Boom.
Daily Avengers too.
Yes, well, he was supposed to do Jail Adventure, but he was doing a thing with Boom, and he broke his arm. And they were like, that was like when Boom was just kind of becoming Boom, right?
Yeah.
And he broke his arm. And boom, next you know, 8 months later, he can't drive, right? So everything's delayed at that point, right? So when somebody submits something to the company, the first thing I ask them is, do you have a story or do you have a concept?
Right.
If you haven't hashed out this story, and if you're saying it's a 4-issue miniseries, then I better see the outline of all of those 4 issues. One, I better see the scripts, and 2, I better see the outline, and I better, is it a concept? I had a guy submit to us, and he's like, oh, it's issue 1 of a 32 epic series.
No.
And I'm like, who determines it's 32 issues?
Foresight.
like one, you've never even completed a book before. You, like 32 issues as an independent guy, that's like 10 years. That's 10 years worth of work. You're gonna be writing the same book for 10 years?
You won't.
You know, and besides that, are the sales gonna be there?
Yeah.
So like, it's just like, somebody once said, I can't remember who it was, they said if you're starting out, start small, then your next project should be twice the size of that. So start an anthology, 8 pages, 12, 16 pages, then eventually do a complete standalone 24-page comic book. And then from that, go to a 2-issue miniseries. Then eventually go to a 3 or 4-issue miniseries, right? Because the truth of the matter is, if you have your Watchmen or your dream project, and you haven't done anything yet, and you're pitching it out, it's not gonna get picked up by Image. It's not gonna get picked up by a major guy, right? It's gonna get picked up by somebody who is probably an independent publisher because their stuff never got picked up themselves, so guess what? They decide to self-publish and become a publisher.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be wasted. It will be, like, start out small, do something, do a project, then do your next one.
Yeah, speaking about the individual issues, yeah, that's good advice, to just do small projects first. Like, I've been doing a lot of single issues, 4-issue miniseries, that kind of thing. Before I even attempted Utopia, I was really scared. This was about 5 years into my drawing career, as a comic book artist. I was really scared, because that's 20 issues, that was frightening for me. And I was really glad that I was able to pull it off in 2 years. So 32 books, 32 issues, that's a long commitment, yeah. But yeah, it's, sometimes you can get scared by just looking at the enormity of it. So it's good to have it in little chunks, begin small. And even today, I still say yes to particular projects that I like, even if it's like 8 pages here, 2 pages there. If I like it, I'll just say, yeah, sure, I'll do it, it's just, sometimes you gotta do that, you say yes to it, to a lot of things, so that you can keep the money coming in. Because a lot of this is money management, especially as a self-publisher, because I've already done that too. It's easy to forget, so right now I have books, but they turn out to be like just gifts. I'm making gifts, so I'm like, gifts for Christmas, yes. So, but yeah, a lot of it's money management. Yeah, I'm not an expert, so I just fumble it all the time. I go, okay, I made money, that's it. I'm not too good at the math. But a lot of it's money management. Just keep your costs. Just be aware that, as long as you cover the cost of printing and your transportation and all that, and attending the con's pretty expensive. So that way you don't just lose money on any project. Sometimes you will. Sometimes you'll lose money, but it shouldn't discourage you. I mean, I'm not sure. Everybody has their own thing. I mean, obviously, if you got a kid and everything, that's different. You gotta take a job or something like that. So only do it when you can absolutely take the risk. That's my advice.
Even losing projects still
Yeah.
helps you because it just adds to your resume.
Right, yeah.
Like
yeah.
doing the work.
Yeah, for every book that you see of me out there, there's a lot of dead books. I got a lot of dead projects
Or a lot of
that
dead
people
ideas.
never see. Yeah,
Or dead ideas or whatever.
yeah. People never see.
In your opinions and in your individual opinions, what would you say is the biggest challenge you faced as far as publishing your own books and getting into the American market? It might be different for each of you, so maybe like to share what you found as your biggest challenges.
The biggest challenge really is just finding somebody to be interested in publishing your work.
Okay.
That I found that's the biggest one, because I was actually pretty confident in the quality of my book.
Yeah.
I knew it was something that I could be proud of.
Right.
So I was that confident in investing a lot of money in it. It's just that to find somebody also interested in it as much as I was.
Yeah.
So that was the big challenge for me. And after several years of looking and not finding anyone, I was actually ready to give up.
Yeah.
It's a good thing that the publisher, SLG publisher Dan Bazo, actually told me that he had a really big box of submissions, and he asked his son to just pick out a couple of things, and he picked up one of those was Elmer. And
How old
the
was this
fuck
son?
is this?
How old was this son, sir?
Oh, I think he was a teenager.
Okay.
That was,
That's good.
that was like.
You consider if the kid was like 8.
Yeah.
No bad.
Yeah, chickens.
Yeah.
But when he started reading it, it was something I could publish. He said so. That was really lucky of me also.
Yeah, and then to add on to Gerry's, it's like, there's actually, it's been confirmed to me from guys that work at Image, when you pitch to Image Comics, a lot of the people who look at the pitches are interns. And it's true, right? Because they receive that many pitches, right? So the pitches come in, and then the interns will then, okay, the ones they think, you have to show professionalism, right? The one, if they look at it, the art's not there, coloring's not there, inking's not there, it's an immediate hard pass, right? I mean, anybody in this room can determine what a good book looks like, right?
Yeah.
And then it comes down to concept, right? And so they have these interns just weed through the thousands and thousands of those, right? Then they go to the next level, like the assistant editor, then the editor, and then eventually they have their round meetings, right?
But to get to that point.
But here's the other thing though, right? Let's say you're pitching a sci-fi series, and the intern himself, because he loves comic books, what does he want to do? He wants to work in comic books. Guess what? That intern might be wanting to pitch his own sci-fi series.
Yeah.
So even if your book is that great, it might not get through that stage, right? I always suggest, if you can, get the email of the editors themselves. I mean, obviously don't go crazy. The one thing I always tell people is be cool. Like, just be cool. Even when when you're on Twitter and all that, and all of a sudden, Matt Hawkins follows you, be cool. Like the analogy I always use is that, imagine that Matt Hawkins is the hottest chick in school, and she just happens to sit next to you in homeroom. Every guy wants to date her, and you just happen to sit next to her. So if she tells a joke, what do? You laugh. If she sneezes, you say bless you, right? That's what I mean by be cool. And then eventually, guess what? You're gonna ask her out for prom. But you gotta build that relationship first, right? and honestly, that's the key. Like when you go on there and Matt Hawkins or somebody like that, like even like any of us up here, right? All of a sudden we follow you back, and all of a sudden you're like, boom, here's my stuff. I'm gonna be like, unfollow. Like there's nothing more annoying to me than somebody who wants my friendship online. I say yes, and what's the first thing I get is a Kickstarter. It's like, can you at least buy me coffee first? Like you would never do that in real life. Hi, my name's Kelly. Oh, can you fund me? You'd never do that, right? So act professional on there, right? But for me, what it was is that, like, the hardest thing to get in North America for me was just honestly the hardest thing about making comic books for me is that I'm just a writer. I have no drawing ability whatsoever. So not only do I have to find a publisher that believes in my story, I gotta find an artist that believes in my story, an inker that believes in my story, and a colorist that believes in my story, right? And luckily I have. But yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of strain and gain. And what I find a lot of people is that they settle. They settle, that they ask, like the Jim Lees of the world to draw their story, and of course you want to do it for free. And then eventually they get a guy, and then what do? They feel like they settle with that artist because it's not the right artist for that story or that concept. It's also not the right story, like the artist his level of even just interpreting a script isn't as good. But I gotta be honest with you guys, your script writing isn't as good right now either, right? And it'll get better, right? Like the more you write, the better you're gonna get, right? But then the same thing happens with a publisher. When you pitch to a publisher, of course we all want to go to Image, right? We all want to go to the big guys, but it's not gonna happen. Like I'm looking at 8 books, top cow, and I'm still getting rejected by Image all the time, And because you have to be at that certain level, right? And they want sure sales. They want the Mark Millers of the world and all that to pitch their stuff. So yeah, that was, for me, the hard part was just getting it done.
Okay.
Like actually creating a book. And then yeah, for me it was like, I'm just gonna pitch it out. Like the worst thing that can happen is them say no.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, so I'm not afraid of pitching at all. Like one of the best advice that I got when I was doing children's books was I had 3 books, and book A, book B, and book C. The editor said, okay, they're ready, let's send them out. And I said, okay. And she said, what's your strongest book? I said, book A. What's your weakest book? Book C. She's like, let's send out book C. So I'm like, why am I pitching book C? And she goes, just do it. So we send it out, a couple months go by, nothing, right? Because you don't always get right back, right? And I meet with the editor again, and I'm like, okay. She's like, what do you think? She's like, well, I obviously got rejected. She goes, okay, that's fine. How do you feel? I'm like, I feel fine. She's like, why? I'm like, well, because 1, Like, I didn't think it was gonna get picked up anyway, it's my weakest one, right?
Right.
And she goes, exactly, like, she's like, let's see if they pitch it out, nothing happens, right? But if they do take it, then guess what, maybe it wasn't your weakest one. You know, maybe that's the one that they actually needed, right? But, like, people aren't afraid of failure, they're afraid of success. Because if they do pitch it out, that's when, like we said earlier, that's when the hard work comes in. Your life doesn't change until it's picked up, right? You're just gonna keep doing your thing, and yes, it sucks. It sucks being rejected, but there's moments and times, right? We've told you some horror stories about how publishers just don't, like they're pulling Gerry's book out of a box. You know, like think of all the other ones that were in there that didn't, right? Think about The Walking Dead that got rejected by every single major publisher. You know, timing happens, right? Either you're not ready, or they're not ready, or maybe the project wasn't ready. Maybe it's not the right project, right? But there.
Biggest challenge.
Yeah, challenge, yeah. Biggest challenge for me, well, you're all younger than me. You know, most of you are younger than me. But you're very lucky. If you draw in the manga style now, that's more accepted. You know, back when I was starting out, it was unusual, you know. These people that are not Japanese drawing manga. That was the toughest challenge of my generation. Was what was these artists that are trying to be Japanese, and there's this kind of like people going, well, it's not Japanese, it's not real, you know. So that was the challenge that I faced. You know, that kind of limited who I can market to, you know. But now it's more common, so you're luckier in that respect. Coming in, and you have the internet. We didn't have the internet back then, you know. I mean, not like this, you know. There's no Twitter, no Instagram, or any of that. No Facebook. And speaking about that, I still do. I have an online project right now. It's just completely online. I haven't published it for real yet. I mean, you know, it is published. I mean, it's 5 episodes in, but you know, it's just online right now. But yeah, you have more resources today, you know, like even if you just wanted to make buttons or t-shirts, or it's so easy to make a t-shirt now.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you had to look for all the materials, and now it's like, it's just print it out of a home printer and you're good, you know, or make stickers out of your home computer, you know, everything's easy. So you have more resources, so just use all of them. But yeah, that's my toughest challenge, I think. It was like, back in the day, nobody accepted it, you know. They thought it was like, it's these guys, they thought it was fake, you know, and they call them manga purists. I don't know if that's a common word here. You know, back in the States, it was like the manga purists, you know, they won't touch you if you're not Japanese. That's why I'm like, well, maybe I should change my name to Toshishiro, you know, whatever, you know, just so I can go into Marna hours. So.
Okay, we'd like to open it up for our audience. Would you like to ask any questions?
Any
Danny?
questions?
No.
Danny,
Wait,
is the
I
legend.
have one for you, but I address this to Rod first.
Okay.
Rod, you wrote Courageous Princess from Atlantic Press first.
Yes.
Then the next 2 issues, next 2 volumes was with Dark Horse.
Yeah.
How were you able to do that?
You know, that's a good question. Because I don't. Here's the thing about just putting your work out there, like Kelly said. Somebody at Dark Horse must have seen an episode of Courageous Princess at some point. I don't know who. I just don't know who handed him that book. But one day I just got a phone call, said, hey, at first it was the movie. They were actually interested in making a movie out of it, that first book. So we talked, and I said, okay, sure. You know, I don't know what's involved. You know, of course it's exciting, but you know, like J.R. Tolkien's dead, and you know, the Lord of the Rings just came out, but he's already dead. So these things I've learned take years. So the Courageous Princess option for a movie has been around for like 12 years now, and people always ask, when is it? No, I don't know. They'll let me know. We renew the contract every now and then. And every now and then I'm reminded that there's a movie. But it came from there. It came from the movie talks. And then after a while they said, does this thing continue? And I said, yeah, actually I've been wanting to continue it for a while, but just didn't have a the time because I was working on other projects. I was working on a lot of children's books, American history. Like I said, I just said yes to a lot of things. So you just want to keep the money coming in. So, you know, when I got freed, I just started, you know, one weekend here, a few hours there. You just start accumulating the pages. And it was tough because I had to reread my own book. I'd forgotten how it goes, you know. So you know, so that's how it began, you know. And the book, the sequel, was too big for just one episode. I mean, those of you who have bought it, you know, you've seen it. It's, you know, like it's this big, you know, that huge. So I said, just split it into 2 episodes. So, you know, we got a trilogy. You know, everybody loves trilogies. So, but luckily they went for it. You know, a lot of that is marketing. I said, you know, trilogy. You know, sounds good. So yeah, that's how it became Dark Horse. And those 2 books are now specifically just Dark Horse books. They weren't published by Antarctic anymore. Although Antarctic published so many of Courageous Princess 1, the book 1, they published so many of that. There was a hardback and soft cover, you know, all these versions. You know, there's even like a digital CD version that's floating around out there, probably on the torrent or something. I don't know. But yeah, that's answer your question.
My question to all 3 of you
Oh, go ahead.
is, since you're exposed to pitching, you know, the positives and negatives, how does that encourage you to pitch your own stories with what you've experienced so far? And do you have a sounding board on when to follow your gut or just to back off on an idea?
I still have a hard time pitching. I really do. Like I can write the story, I can create the story, but breaking it down to that, you know, the tagline or the log line, I still have a hard time with that. And I see pitches, probably 10 pitches a week for Insane Comics, and I'm like, oh, that's a good pitch, you know. But honestly, I send it to friends I trust, and I say, hey guys, like, help me out here, you know, because you can sit there and tell your friends the story, but it's hard to just put it down there in a simple, like, you know, boom, here it is, right? Yeah. And especially like it's got to be an elevator pitch. It's got to be that quick and that fast. Yeah. They got Save a Cat. Save a Cat, is that what it's called? It's a book. How to Save the Cat. Sorry. It's a novel called. It's a novel on writing, and it's got How to Save a Cat. Save a Cat. Someone save the cat and saving. Okay. I can't remember. I read that a long time ago, right. And they did a sequel, but that thing breaks it down like you wouldn't believe. He basically says that all movies can be broken down into 3 genres. It doesn't even matter if it's sci-fi, whatever. It just breaks it down, and it's true. So there's certain scenes, certain segments, but yeah, sure.
Like Kelly, I still have. It's still very challenging to pitch stuff. Back in 2011, when Elmer got nominated for an Eisner, I thought I would have an easier time. Because there would be editors who would come to me, oh, I read your book. If you have any ideas, just shoot them my way. This is an editor from Dark Horse. Yeah. So I got so excited. I have a lot of ideas that I wanted to pitch Dark Horse. So when I got home, I typed up all these pitches, and one after the other, he would say, do you have any other ideas? Oh, do you have any other ideas? It's starting to get discouraging, Yeah. So I thought I try to make another set of pitches, and I haven't gotten back yet with. But there are a few pitches in there that I still feel very confident about. The problem is I probably didn't pitch it well enough. So I'm still working on that.
When it comes to pitching and success, I guess one of my other advice to you guys is, if somebody don't be jealous of other people. So if you see somebody, he's got success and all that, and try not to compare yourself to them. You're in a race against yourself. If you're better than when you were last year, then you've already succeeded. If you can draw better, or if a year from now you say, hey, look, I got 3 books out, or something. that's your success, you know, don't compare yourself to somebody who got like, you know, oh, somebody has a movie, you know, cause that'll just depress you, seriously, and, you know, a lot of artist types were, you know, we have that little beast in our heads, you know, and, you know, I talk about it freely, you know, everybody has that, you just have to, control it, yeah, to control it, because, you know, if you let it control you, then nothing will happen, your work will get done, you know, your deadline will be blown, you know, and I always post this online, I said, the minute that you can draw at will, without waiting for the inspiration, that's when you know you're a pro. Wow. That's when you know you're a pro. Because I've been exposed to artists that on our press, they can just draw like that. You know, been done in Fred Perry, the two pillars of fan art press. They're tired. Fred came in from a flight and he said, hey, Fred, you know, he'll just sit and draw simply, you know. He'll draw, I still need to do 2 pages. Just draw them out. Let's draw them out right there, you know. And the minute you can do that, the minute you can just summon the power to draw without waiting for inspiration, that's when you become a pro.
The thing also with pitching is to still talk with that, is that each publisher has their own website, right? And their submission policies is black and white right on their thing, right? Just Google comic book publishers submissions, and you'll get a whole list of them. Like you're looking at 200 plus, and there's more independent ones growing every day, right? But the biggest thing is read, one, their submission policies. Also, check out what kind of books they publish. Like if you have a sci-fi book, it's not probably best to pitch it to Antarctic Press, right? You know, like it just, or if you have like, you know, like it's all genres and styles, right? So look at that, believe in your project, read their submission policy, because if you don't read their submission policy, like I said, the intern's gonna call it right away, anybody's gonna call it right away, right? Because that tells me that I don't wanna work with you because you can't follow any simple instructions. You know, if I ask you to, you know, like lay it out and it's, here's what it is. If you can't do that, I know there's gonna be problems later on, right? So read the submission policy, and also like if you don't agree with it, don't pitch it to them. Like if they're only gonna give you like, you know, 60% and they take 40 and you're like, I don't like that, or they're only gonna do digital and you wanna do print and digital. It's just do it yourself then.
Yeah.
Publish it yourself,
If
right?
you're
Like
doing digital, you might as well just do it yourself.
you might as well just do it yourself, right? I mean, it's great having a publisher's name on your resume, but only if they're gonna give you that, right? And they're gonna, you know, market it and do other things, right? But so it's all things that you have to ask yourself questions about, right? Is will this publisher work for me? Or, you know, like, is it the right fit? Okay.
Any other questions?
You were talking about digital.
Yeah.
So, what's your perspective when it comes to webcomics and how to place it, and what kind of disciplines do you have in mind when it comes to webcomics?
It doesn't matter who works with this.
Well, my experience is that I have a webcomic, and it's basically just online, like I said. But you know, I don't do the. It's very tempting to do the, you know, long panel or whatever. You scroll forever, it keeps going. It's kind of fun to do that, but my mind is always on the business side, where one day I'm gonna print this. So I might as well put it in the page size format, so that it's easier to print later. You know, that's why I don't do the weird layouts on the webcomic, even though you can do that, because you know, the computer screen is endless. It's a vast screen that you can scroll sideways or up and down or whichever. And I think Scott McCloud, any of you read Scott McCloud's book? How many of you have read Scott McCloud's books?
Every hand should be up by now.
Yeah, so you can pick it up. It's called Understanding Comics and Reinventing
Yeah.
Comics. Now, those 2 titles will give you a lot of ideas on how to do comics in general. Mostly, he speaks with an indie kind of
Well,
vibe.
he's in
so,
it's
yeah,
also in
he's-
your public library usually
yeah,
too, right? So
that's true. Yeah.
get that book, read that book.
Borrow it from a friend.
That's our textbook.
Yep, that is a must read for comic book people.
And Save the Cat, if that's the name of it.
Yeah, Save the Cat. Go ahead.
Anything to add on the webcomic?
No, I agree with what Rod said, that I also want to explore doing comics online, but with the thought of doing it later in print. Because if your work becomes successful online, there would be demand for it in print.
Right.
You know, for example, Wasted, it's a print book that I did a long time ago, and after several printings of it, I thought I just offer this for free entirely. So Wasted can be read online for free in several formats. I made CBR file, like I made a torrent file. It's there somewhere. I made MOB file, PDF. I even put it up at a website, but the website's dead now.
Okay.
Webcomics Nation.
Yeah.
And each in that website, each page had a commentary, you know, which was unique to that, which is
Yeah.
unfortunately gone now.
Oh,
Anyway.
Did you save the text file?
I know. Anyway, whenever somebody would come to me and say, I want to read Wasted. You know, you can just read it online if you like. It's completely free. No, I want a print copy of it. I want a print copy. So that's why there's another printing of Wasted. I made another one. So I'm glad that Wasted has found a readership online. But I'm still really, really puzzled that people still want a print copy of it.
Some people just like the text is a little
Yeah,
bit.
the copy, read the,
Yeah.
having it in your hand, spelling the pages and
That's
stuff.
true.
I mean, I'm like that.
Yeah.
And that's what's stopping me from doing a lot of weird layouts.
Yeah.
I still want to think of the future that this will appear in print one day.
Well, no, and I have to, like, we're still talking about the web, like, my books are in digital and print. So in print, we all know that even numbers are the holy shit pages, right? The holy, you know, like,
Yeah,
that's where
yeah,
the killer
yeah.
is, right?
Yeah.
And they tend to, you know, like, be the splash page, right? In digital, every page is that, because you can't skip forward, right?
That's true.
So, but you have to pace yourself in the way that, so when you have to think of the layout, right? So remember that yourself, when you're numbering them, even or flip, if it's gonna be print, right? So odd are always here, even are always here, right? So think about that when you're doing that.
It's for the cliffhanger.
It's
Yeah,
the
the reveal.
the reveal,
The
the banner is
reveal.
always on and even, right?
The odd
But
placement here.
but you were saying like with time, with pace, like what can you do? Like if you can do it once a week, post it once a week. If you think you can do it 2 times a week, do it 2 times a week, right? But it looks better for you that you're consistent. So if you say you're gonna do it 2 times a week and you start building a following, and next thing you know you get busy, school, whatever, all of a sudden you can't do it, that's bad, right?
Yeah, because in previous Komikons, I've moderated panels here where it was strictly about digital comics. And the speakers, including Doc Carlo outside, it's really the consistency. He said it helps a lot as far as the expectations of his audience, because he's already made sure that he's got a steady schedule.
Yeah.
So his audience knows, okay, this day this is gonna arrive, this
Yeah.
day it's gonna arrive. So if it doesn't arrive, they're gonna ask you, where is it? We're expecting consistency. So,
And you can lose, and the longer it is, the lose followers. But this goes right back to the publisher and not one publisher book is ready, right? Because if you dedicated yourself to this webcomic, then I assume you have an ending to, or it's a story, right? So, and congratulations, by the way, for doing that, because that's just like publishing a book. Like a webcomic is the exact same thing as publishing a book. It's just work you've done that you can show, that's your resume, here it is, right? And that's basically what you're doing, is that every book you're gonna do is, that's your business card, that's your degree, that's your diploma, that's your resume in this industry, right? And so it's just a matter of just you doing the work, getting it out when you're supposed to get it out, that you've committed to, right? Whether it's a page a week. Like it's an easy thing to think about, guys. 1 page, 1 day, dedicated, right? It's like when we do the 24-hour comic book day in Singapore, I don't know, do you guys do that here? 24
Yeah.
hours?
Yeah.
It's not free comic day, but it's 24-hour where you go there and draw
Yeah.
24 pages in 24
We
hours.
already have FCB.
Okay, yeah, so 24-hour comic day is a day, it's in the huge in the States for a while, and you're basically supposed to dedicate, for 24 hours, supposed to get 24 pages done, and
Right.
it's almost impossible.
Wow.
But my philosophy on it, and this is what I tell everybody when we go there, because it's a huge event in Singapore, and it's awesome, it's well received. But I say, guys, like it's not about how many pages you get done. It's about taking every distraction your family, your work, everything else, computer, you know, video games. It's taking that out of the equation for 24 hours.
Right.
That's what it is. So last year I wrote the Mark Miller Talent Hunt project, like script. So that's how I spent 24 hours. I just wrote the Mark Miller Talent Hunt script, right? The year before that, I wrote the Top Cat one, right? So it's just a matter of just taking things out of your way and just doing, and that's what you're basically going to do with your webcomic, is right? Once a week, dedicate yourself, right? I say a lot of times that making comics is a lot like being on a diet, where you have to go to the gym. You know, you have to, you know what I mean? Like that's what you're doing, right? Is that you have to train yourself and force yourself. You have to say, hey, no, I want to go watch Doctor Strange, but hey, I've dedicated myself to this webcomic. I got to get it out. If that happens, you know, and that's what you have to do. You just have to put yourself and say, no, I have to do this, right? And that's the key. But yeah, so did we answer that?
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
The biggest thing is, yeah, just do the work and make it so you can do it.
Anyone else? Questions, please?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a question about, well, you said you stressed the importance of networking. So maybe the question there, it's like, how important is it, and what are the advantages? Do you think it's really necessary to have a face-to-face interaction as opposed to just a online presence?
Living in Asia, it's hard to have that face-to-face, right?
Yeah.
It really is, right? And that's why I have a publisher, that's why I'm with the American publisher, because they're doing that for me, right? My books are on Comixology where everybody else's is, right? And trust me, guys, you don't want sales from Comixology. Comixology takes 50%. You don't want those sales, right? But you want to be on there because that's the IMBD of comic books right now.
Yeah.
That's where all the big guys are.
It's the big cloud.
Yeah, and if they're on there, they just search your name on there, boom, it comes up, oh, hey, you're on there too, right? So, like, trust me, like, I like being on Comixology just for that reason only. But every time I make a post, it goes right back to my publisher's website where I get what the contract says, 70 and 30, right? So, so yeah, having a presence is huge. It absolutely is. And sorry, I've lost half your question.
Yeah, just
Networking.
question like,
Networking.
your networking strategies and
face to face.
yeah, and face-to-face versus
Face to face is
online.
always better. They want to know who you are as a person, right? And a human
Yeah.
being. Like I flew out to New York Komikon last year just to do that, because I'm building these connections. I just won the Top Cow thing. I'm like, hey, Matt's gonna be there, Top Cow's gonna be there. I got to meet these guys, right? And so are a lot of the winners. We're all down there. We're just meeting and getting face to face, and especially when you wear these pro passes at like a major event, it's just such a huge thing, because if you walk up to an artist and you're not wearing these things, they're like, oh, what is he gonna ask me about Spider-Man? You know, like, and if you walk up with a pro pass, they're like, it's like a breath of fresh air, because like you're in the crowd, like
Yeah.
like you know how to make sausage, right?
Yeah.
And the curtains pulled back for the Wizard of Oz, and like literally, like it was Ramos. Somebody asked Ramos at a con, like he was asking all these Spider-Man questions when he was drawing it.
Humberto.
Yeah, Humberto, and he's like, dude, I just draw the book. Like I don't know what's gonna happen 5 issues from now. Like literally, I'm not writing the story. I'm just the script comes in, and I have to put out 22 pages in 17 straight days.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of work, and so yeah, face to face is always better, but having any presence is huge. But face to face really lets them know that your online presence is who you are. So like that's who your online presence should be. I also suggest that like nothing drives me more insane than people whose names on Facebook is not their name.
Yeah.
And what makes me more insane is when their profile picture is not their face. It's called Facebook people. That should be a photo of your face. So when you come, like, I have guys in Singapore who, like, I'm friends with them, they come up to me and I go, hey, I saw like that post, and I'm like, who are you? and I'm huge friends with them on Facebook, right? But I'm like, if I can't recognize them, it doesn't help me, right? Like that is your resume. So that should be a proto of you, because every other post is not going to be about you, unless you like taking selfies. But that's, and then keep it the same. So like on Instagram, I'm Kelly Bender 17. On Twitter, I'm Kelly Bender 17. On Pinterest, I'm Kelly Bender 17. Just because Kelly Bender was already taken, right? And then you pick your favorite number. But on Facebook, I'm Kelly Bender, right? Because why? Because it's easier to search. I have guys who I work with, and I try and tag them on a post on Twitter. I can't find them because they have some stupid name,
Like comics
Right,
fanboy.
yeah.
like or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I also suggest making your Twitter account you. Don't make it your story. Like if you're a writer like me, like I'm marketing myself.
Yeah.
I'm branding myself. And yes, I'm talking about my book, right? Like that book's gonna be done in 2 years. Then you've already built up these followers. Let's say you've got 1,000 followers on my Starburn Twitter page. Now I gotta start working on my Snarl
Yeah.
Twitter page.
You're looking at your next
These guys are
project
coming,
already. Yeah.
right? They're not all coming over, right? So you want to, you're branding yourself. At the end of the day, that's what you're doing. You're building a story, but yourself as well. So it's all there. But yeah, like use your name. You know, like I told this one guy, like it was his name, and I'm like, when the publisher writes the check to you, what name's going to be on that check? Because if it's that funny name, bank's not going to cash that. You know what I mean? And so have it your name. But anything to add, Jake? Sorry, I just went off on that one.
Yeah, it's fine.
I believe in this really, like internet is
Those
just a
are
huge
smart,
thing,
yeah.
because without the internet, I would have no career.
Mm.
I'm working with artists from Romania, South Africa, like all over the place. And we're constantly communicating on Facebook Messenger, Twitter, you name it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm constantly marketing on there. You know, and you're constantly promoting, and you have to.
Now, speaking of your, networking, it can work, but, you have to develop a relationship even if it's just online. Because I've worked with people before where they're in another country. You just have to establish a trust.
Yeah.
At first I just go, well, I'll give you one drawing if you give me a little bit for this drawing, and then if he proves himself over time that he pays okay, no matter what kind of payment scheme you want, then you can go, well, yeah, here's the entire issue and just pay you later. Now you can trust it, you see. But if he doesn't pay you, then that's no bueno, That's, you can't establish a relationship with that. If he's late or he offers any excuse like, whatever his excuse is, and you're not going to be able to have a good relationship with that person, because how are you going to find this guy? He's on your side of the world now, but it has worked for me though. It has worked that online I find, people find me or I find people, and then they just go, well, I pay you a little bit. And there's people I've never met. These are people I've never met physically, but so that you pay me, I pay you a little bit, and I give you this. Sort of like a hostage exchange. So you establish the trust, and then later on you can go, yeah, here's the whole thing. But that's only later when you've trusted them already. So usually the people that when you do that, people are nice generally. They want to pay you and all that. And if you've gotten an honest broker and all that, so most of the time it worked for me. So I'm trying to remember if I've had somebody really stick me before. Not really, because I make them feel bad. Sometimes I just go, yeah, fine, but I just say, okay, but next time, But yeah, it's all about just establishing that first contact, and right away because sometimes these people would go, well, I want to do this and do that. Don't commit yourself to going, oh yeah, great, and then they'll tell you, I'm gonna pay you this pay rate. Well, you gotta show me first, and then when he pays you, then it's like, oh, this guy's for real. It's not like some dude somewhere. It's like,
But it all starts with you being genuine as well, though, right? Because if you're being fake or false, then you kind of expect it from other people, right?
Yeah.
So just be yourself.
Yeah.
Show your personality
Be
through,
yourself.
and I mean anybody should do research as well and look through your other posts and see like how's your personality, like are you complaining about everything every day, like are you complaining about your real job, or are you complaining about this and that? Then that kind of shows the kind of character you are, right? And so you have to be that online persona.
You mentioned earlier about those people that friend you and then give you a Kickstarter link. Like, oh, I hate that too.
Yeah.
I don't like that. So that shows their personality. And they don't really want to be friends.
It's also a level of professionalism as well, right?
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
like, that's like, because you're not meeting them in person.
But it can be done.
Anything, Gerry?
About networking online compared to face-to-face, I would like to have a face-to-face networking, but most of the time I really don't have the resources for it. It's very expensive to go to America to attend conventions. So I settled mostly for online networking. And I try to be very careful with it. I want to touch on something he said about talking with other pros and other people in the industry, especially reviewers. I genuinely try to be friendly with them, and whenever they post, sometimes I would interact with them. Doesn't have to be related to anything about what I do. If they make a joke about something, I'd say I would if they talk about the movie, I would talk to them about the movie. Just friendly. And I would maintain this over a period of how many months. Just allowing them to get to know me, so that one day when I say, hey, I have a comic book, I have a comic book. You don't have to review it if you don't want. I just want to send it to you because I just want to share this.
Yeah.
I just want to share my comic book. Because some other people just email me and say, please review this. I haven't met them before. So I would have less tendency to do what they ask me. But if I know them and have been friends with them for a long time and they, I have this comic book. I want to show this to you. And if I find that the comic book is really good, I'd say good things about it. So that's what I would approach other people with. People I've met online, and I would say, hey, I have this comic book, and I want to share this with you. If you like it, that's great, And most of the time, they would like it, and they would write something about it online, And they do it voluntarily, without me asking them. I've met a lot of people who wants results right away. They expect to have, like for instance, I want to give an example of this guy, an aspiring writer who wants to rebuild Marvel Universe because he thinks the current one sucks. So he has this master plan and he wants me to draw it. And I have to draw it because this is going to be the next big thing. And wait, take it easy, I'm actually pretty busy right now myself with my own projects. You need to find somebody, and I think when you're just starting out, you need to find a friend. You have to find a friend who's an artist who's willing to work for free. Because only a friend work for free. But if you don't have a friend, you go out and network, and just don't go out and, hey, I want you to draw my story. No, you have to be friends with them first. Just cultivate relationships with people. Interact with them, and then maybe later on, and when you guys get together and you share your story, and he says, hey, that's a nice story, I want to draw it. Stuff like that. You just, you don't force things, you don't really push things. There's something to be said about, being aggressive, but you really have to pace yourself and know when to push and know when to pull back.
Can I say something about working for free?
There you go.
Yeah, I'll say this, right? When somebody approaches me and says, hey, can we collaborate and we're gonna do this, and he, sometimes they'll be honest and say, hey, I can't pay much, and I said, that's okay, just not free, Sometimes I would say the line. I would say the line that I use is, if it was up to me, I just make it free, but my partner won't allow it. And I don't even need need to say who the partner is.
Yeah.
Now, I got this from Robert Kiyosaki's book. You know? I don't know, it's, you know, a lot of you might recognize that. That's the only thing that I got from there is like, okay, you know. So even if your partner is your pet cat, yeah. They don't need to know. They don't need to know your partner. As long as you say, hey, my partner's not gonna allow me to work for free.
Tricks of the
You
rich
know.
dad.
They'll understand. They'll go, okay, you know, why don't we pay like a 50 or 100 per page or whatever. You know, they just settle for whatever small amount, as long as you get something, you know. I always say that, well, something is better than zero, you know. So even if it's like 20, you know, we're talking dollars now. Okay,
Yeah.
20 to 50 bucks a page. You're like, yeah, that's fine as long as it's not zero. You know, you can work with them that way if you feel inclined. And anyway, you're not doing anything, so you might as well, you know, you might as well take money than none. You know, so that's just my take on it. So if I'm vacant, I just go, well, sure, you know, whatever. And especially if I like it, I want to help them out for real, you know. So and that's where the relationship comes in. If you like the person, then you'll go, well, yeah, sure, I'll just cut my rate because I like you, you know. But that takes time, you know, like, you know, no instant gratification there.
You
So
gotta
that's-
definitely gotta build the relationship.
Yeah.
Like all my guys, like, I've met one of my artists in real life. I've got 8 different books and I met, he's the only person I've worked with that I've actually met in real life. And that's actually Brian Belando, a nice Filipino artist. That's the only one of my guys that I've ever met in real life. Some we've Skyped,
Right.
you know, some we've FaceTime or whatever like that. Most of them, it's honestly just through communication, right? But you gotta build that relationship. And see, the funny thing is, like, I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum where I haven't paid any of my guys up front. None of my guys. We've all done back-end pay, and it's been successful because, one, we were all committed to it. Two, we were all at that stage at the same time where we all needed that. I've got 8 published books. I don't know how many scripts I've written that have been paid for, and I've still done more free writing than I have paid writing.
Okay.
And I've been writing professional now for 3+ years. And it's just, I just needed to get that out, right? I needed to write, right? So it's like, hey, you're gonna publish me in an anthology, boom, I'm in. You know, you're gonna print me online, boom, I'm in. You know, like, you just need that resume and that experience, right? And I was very fortunate enough to meet artists who needed the exact same thing I needed at the time. But we only knew that because we built a friendship and a relationship, right? Like I had guys all the time, and I still do, like, they just go, will you draw for me? You know, like, let's work on a project together, or write for me. And I'm like, let's get to know each other first, you know? Like I need to know who you are as a person. I need to know your commitment level. I also need to know, one, what do you like to draw? You know, the worst thing you can do as a writer is get a guy who loves drawing sci-fi,
But you're
drawing
doing fantasy.
superhero. Yeah,
Western.
exactly,
Yeah.
right? And so that's the first thing, like, when I get a guy who comes say, hey, you know, Kelly, I've seen your stuff, I want to work together. And mainly they're coming to me now because they're needing that published work. They need to work with a publisher, right? Because you have to climb that ladder, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, where we get talking, and I'm like, the first thing I ask is, okay, what genres do you like drawing? And then we talk back and forth, and I mean, we're talking about, like, talking every day, every other day, and this is before I've even written anything down, right? And he's drawn anything, right? We just
Because it helps you kind of, you start to write for his strengths.
It's a team.
Yeah.
It 100% is a team effort, right? Like, that's why we're all, like, me and the artist, we're all co-owners of it. And it's all a creation, right? Where I get stuck in a script and I'm like, oh man, I can't figure out what to do next in the scene. And then boom, the artist says, oh, what about this? And I'm like, boom,
Yeah.
you know, the wheels start turning again, right? Or he'll say, like, you know, like like he'll, hey, because I'll write the script, but then he'll be like, hey, do you mind if I change the angle, this and that? I'm like, yeah, do it, dude.
Yeah.
Like you're just as much in this as I am, right? But you got to build that relationship, right? You got to build that friendship, and especially because we live in such a digital world and everything's so close, you're the one who has to put that human aspect in there, right? You're the one who has to make them know you without ever meeting you, and that's a big key in the being, just by being a decent human being to begin with. And I assume we all are. So it's just the same thing in life, right? You just, like, be cool. Don't get crazy if they follow you. Don't get crazy if they like your post. It's not like, you know, I had Eric Larson liked my post the other day about my book, that's not him saying, yes, go buy and read this book, it's the greatest thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's not like, I've interacted with him on his posts and in his family pics and stuff like that, and he's done that to me too, right? But me being crazy, that'll ruin that friendship right away, right? So it's just, yeah.
Kickstart my Savage Dragon, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking about that, the building relationships still, you
Yeah.
know, a lot of times when I don't know the person, I insert little things, you know, it's not all business, you know. It's always like, hey, hope you're well and you're in good health or whatever, you know. Or sometimes if I comment on their Facebook page, I always go, this is a fascinating discussion, you know.
Mhm.
You know, something to, you know, not just go in there and just type real fast, you know.
Yeah.
Something to, you know, like praise them a little bit for the positive things that you see. You might as well, you know, I mean, but don't be fake about it. You know, there would be posts that some people that I know, I would just let them by because it doesn't interest me. But suddenly they'll post something that kind of, oh, this is something I can talk about and contribute to. Because I just don't post just because, you know.
For the sake
So
of it.
yeah, exactly. So you have to find that angle where you're like, this is something I'm into.
Yeah.
He posted about it, so you know, just be natural. Like, again, just be natural about it. You don't have to force it. So a lot of us are introverts. So you know, we as an artist, a lot of us are introverts. So you just have to be natural about it. You don't have to pretend, because people can kind of smell if you're pretending.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that was it. So any other questions? Or?
Any other questions, guys? We go.
Continuing that talk about the relationship between writers and other artists, how do you guys know how to talk to artists if you were a writer and the artist did something different from what you envisioned from the script? How do you massage that to maybe getting your way, or maybe just finding a common ground between your visions?
Well, you're never going to get 100%. That's the first thing. You're never going to get 100% of your vision. Because even if I'm writing and I'm drawing, I will never get 100% of what I've written. Suddenly when I draw it, I'm like, that doesn't look too right. It doesn't look as awesome as it was in my imagination. I once tried to do the Michael Bay 360 in a comic book, and I found out it doesn't work. So I'm like, it's awesome. It's gonna be like Worm's Eye, the camera's gonna spin around the character, and I drew the character, but it's not gonna work. So that just seems cool in my head. But I've written, and somebody else interpreted my words, and at first it could get a little off-putting. You're like, oh, that's when I see like it's a test. It's a test of my writing ability, of how concise I can get. So I read back on my script and go, oh, sometimes it's you, sometimes it's my writing, you know. Sometimes I wrote it and I wrote a table, but I didn't describe it. So the artist just goes to town with whatever, you know. I mean, you know, it could be a big meeting, and then suddenly there's just a small desk in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
You know, or something, and you didn't specify that it's gonna be this long table with, you know, that can seat 20 people, or something like that, or it's not made of mahogany or whatever. He drew it as if it was made of plastic or whatever, you know. So it's up to you to describe it, you know, the situation. You know, which is why a lot of artists and even your colorists will look for clues. Like, is this day? Is this night? A lot of my fellow artists are colorists, so they would be calling Marvel, asking, is this a day scene or a night scene? Because they've got caught in they colored it night because it's gonna be great, you know, it's nighttime. They find out it's day, you know, or something. They have to change it. They're bummed out by that. But yeah, you have to be concise about it. And sometimes the way the artist interprets it, you just have to look and go, well, is it important? If it's not, then just let it go, you know. That's just me, that's my 2 cents, but yeah.
You really won't be able to get 100% of your vision in there, because basically you're collaborating with another artist. That artist will give his own vision to your story. So that's already, you won't be able to get exactly what you wanted, but you know, you may get something better. Because, for instance, I worked with Arnold in Brodsky, and I had a specific vision of what the story could be, what it would look like, and how it would be told visually. But when Arnold sent me the pages, I was practically blown away because he did stuff there that I didn't even imagine, and it's 100% better. So what would come out would be a combination of the two of us, Arnold's vision and my vision, into something that we both didn't really foresee, and it turned out really nice, I think.
Yeah.
Because Arnold's a really fantastic artist. So,
Collaborative.
but sometimes when another artist who's working on my story does something that doesn't sit well with me, first of all, I'm actually quite collaborative with my artists, and when they have suggestions, I'm pretty open to it. I'm not really close-minded. And when they say, hey, what if I do this and do this, I think about it. Okay, let's talk about it and let's see. And okay, that works for me. So go ahead and do that idea. So by being open-minded about his ideas, the artist's ideas, I'm cultivating a relationship where he would be open to my own ideas. Like for instance, this new comic book I'm working on with Kevin Ray Valentino. I specified a specific thing to him, and when he came back to me with the drawing, it looked a little bit like genitalia. It probably didn't occur to him. It probably didn't occur to him. So hey Kevin, this looks like something, maybe we could change this. And he was open to the idea, and he said, and he realized this. Oh, of course. Okay, I'll change it.
It's right yet, sorry.
I'll change this. So yeah, you really have to cultivate an environment of collaboration, open collaboration with your artist, so you can both be open to each other's ideas.
Exactly. You're not going to get if I handed this one-page script right now to everybody in this room, I'm going to get each one's going to be unique and different, right? Because your drawing ability is going to be different, your perspective is going to be different, all these things, right? So these are all things that add to it. As a writer, I'm coming from a different aspect, because if you're paying for this guy, are you paying him a page rate?
Actually, I'm the artist, the other guy's the artist.
Okay, is he paying you a page rate?
No, we're doing this on collaboration.
Then you just have
Back
to,
end.
then honestly, you guys just have to work it out, figure out, is it your interpretation of his script? Was he not specific enough, or are you just going off and have a new vision, right? And that's something you guys can work on as a thing, right? But as a writer, if I send a script and it's completely wonky, I actually do have to send it back and say, hey guys, no, I've actually had it where I've written a five panel page, and I got it back with 8 panels, and I'm like, why is there 8 panels on here? And I'm looking at it, and it's like, he's like, well, we have to show the guy dropping the cigarette. I'm like, why do we have to show him dropping the cigarette?
Right.
Like if he has a cigarette in one hand and we've already got it out of his mouth, the next actual written is him walking with no cigarette in his hand. That the gutter tells you that's a moment of time that's occurred, right? Like anybody can figure that out. But he had actually like it was 3 panels of him releasing the cigarette, which is it's nothing. It just messed up the entire flow of the page, right? So it's a matter of just getting together and figuring out and where are we? Hey, me as an artist, I can see this way. As long as you're not removing important details, like if that table's mahogany, you need it to catch on fire later on, or I'll actually do that. In the script scene, I'll say, okay, important. I'll actually important must show this, right? Because that's either the murder weapon or whatever, right? But you have to show that in the scene, even though it might be the most subtle thing in that scene. Like if it's an alley and we have to draw a little gun hiding behind the garbage can where the action's here, I need that gun, right? And so you just have to it's all how the writer expresses it to the artist. And same with Marvel, even Marvel, where they're not even putting day scene or setting, or
right.
Some people interior, exterior. Some people don't even do that. Or even I'll say, hey, new scene, you know, or, you know, like raised angle, 45-degree down, look in here, you know, like, or sometimes I'll even say, don't care what this character looks like, he's dying in 2 panels anyway, right? So it's all about communication. But yeah, as a writer, if I'm paying you a page rate and you're completely way off, I will actually have to get you to redraw. If it's that messed up that it doesn't, like, you know, even if you have the hero walking off the wrong way, right?
Yeah.
Because in comics it goes left to right, right?
Yeah.
I've had that before. I've had where it's not even, it breaks the rule of comic books. Like, that's my biggest thing. If it breaks the rule of comic books, that affects the book, right? Because it affects the quality, and we'll get judged on that. And as a writer, I'm judged on the inking, coloring, lettering, and drawing, as well as the writing. I'm judged on all that. And so, especially when you're starting out, you want to try and put your best foot forward. So, but yeah, it's communication. Just like look at the script, and I'll even have an artist say, "Hey, do you mind if I just add this to the script?" Or, "Hey, I have this creative idea. Can I just, you know, change the angle, whatever?" I'm like, "Yeah, do it, dude." You know. So, but it's communication.
You should attended we had a previous Komikon panel where it was about writer-artist collaborations. So we kind of went at it in depth for like an hour and a half. If that wasn't in summer Komikon, it was last year's Komikon here. And, yeah, we had guys like Micah and Pepe outside, and they're talking in depth about the writer-artist, the dilemma of trying to find middle ground between the two of them, that kind of stuff. That's why you have to attend more of these Komikons. Anyway, any other questions for our panel?
Yeah.
Working with the collaborative team, like the CG development team, is really better than working solo. I'm working solo, so what are the best compromises that I could do so that I could match the quality of a team working solo?
Well, I worked solo for a while. If you look at, you know, my Facebook, Ron Espinosa, just type Ron Espinosa, it will show up. But Adventure Finders is entitled to online comic. I do that from beginning to end. And if you're doing everything solo, you know, I just don't bother with writing a script at all. You know, I have it typed. Yeah, but then when I do the what do you call it, the storyboards, I just write the script on there real quick. And sometimes I would come up with ideas like, this is what they're gonna say, or sometimes not even. It's just gonna go, he's saying an insult here, and I know what it means later on. So, you know, those kinds of shortcuts. And I do a lot of art shortcuts because I don't draw a whole page anymore. A lot of times all I do is buy the Xerox paper, the laser paper, because it takes the inkwell bond size like this, fits on a scanner so that you don't have to buy large scanners. And that's where I draw. I just draw the whole page like this, you know, those equal like a whole comic book page. And so I just draw on those, you know, and I draw no backgrounds at all now, because I do a lot of my backgrounds on CG. So my rule is if I'm gonna use it more than 3 times, I'm gonna build it. So if it's a Jeep, I'm gonna draw that thing over and over again, especially if it's a military story. I have a Humvee already, I have Jeeps, I have tanks. I said, I'm gonna make a model out of this. So I can just pose it however I want and then shoot, and then that's it. And all my hand-drawn elements are just the people, you know. That's how I can save time. I have clouds that I just drop in. Sunset, sunrise, all of that, you know, just drop them in, nobody will notice. So cloudy, clear, you know, all of that is all in a layer somewhere, just drop them in. I got fake mountains, I got everything. I got it's a Hollywood background, essentially. And I've accumulated this on a lot of projects. I've worked on 45 children's books, mostly to do with American history, but there's some modern ones in there. So it forced me to build entire towns. So period towns, I got period villages, and I still build new things, based on the project. Like in Adventure Finders, I had to build that whole town. But I did grab elements from other towns, like barrels and things like that. Oh, yeah, I'm not gonna build a barrel again, so I just grabbed that in. Just building with Lego, essentially. So it's a lot of fun, because I used to be a Lego kid. So it's a lot of fun that way. Those are a lot of time-saving measures you can do as a single artist, so that, you know, you're not drawing the whole page. Because and I'm not coloring the whole page too, because in the SketchUp, the thing is already colored. So if I color the model right on SketchUp, it'll show up okay, and all I gotta do is dirty it up a little bit. You know, that way it doesn't look too model-y. You know, just nick it a little bit, put a little dirt on there. So I do that on Photoshop. So if you look at the pages online, and these pages too, I'm gonna give out a few comic books. You'll see how my process is. And then the model here, you know, like this one, I just drew a person, and then the vehicle and all the buildings behind her, those are like from Benjamin Franklin, you know. So, and I built that vehicle. I built this vehicle specifically for this issue. And then the background there, that's the town in Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, all that period, you know, 17th century, you know, architecture, you know. So you have that, and then you just move the buildings around. If you want a new town, you just move the buildings around. It's a lot of fun, actually. And the thing about working in 3D that I found out is that you're finding new angles that you never occur to you in real life. Like if you were just drawing it, it would never occur to you that suddenly I leave the pen and it drops and it spins the model accidentally. I'm like, I kind of like that. So sometimes I would redraw the person. It takes sometimes it's, you know, doesn't work to the best of my best interest, because I'm like, I have to draw the person now to match that angle. But sometimes you have to do it because you want a good product out there. You know, you want a good result. So those are the things that I can advise, like everything that you can make a layer out of. Fire, I have fire. Those fires, I've used those fires forever. The fire glow, just, you don't even have to do the airbrush, just save the fire glow, put it on a layer, and it'll be handy later on, you know. Sun's rays, you know. So get a good one and then save it, you know. And then later on you just keep using it over and over again. So those are the time-saving things that I've come up over the years. That's how I can write, draw. I always say that I do the work of 5 men in a month. You know, so write, draw, color, letter, you know, everything. And now I'm publishing. So that's why I don't have time. So a lot of the things that I advise, sometimes I don't even have the time to do. You know, like I gotta go on here, go on Twitter and announce it and all that. And you know, just I can't keep up with all the new ones like Instagram and all that. Tumblr, I think my Tumblr account, I've completely forgotten my password. So it's in there somewhere, you know. So if somebody gets on my laptop, they're gonna find that one file that has all the passwords. That's it. So my life's game over, but yeah. But yeah, those are the time-saving things you can do by yourself. Because I don't type it, and I don't even print the script anymore. I just look at it on the computer screen, like, I'll just draw, you know. And a lot of my basic sketches, you know how doctors write prescriptions and you can't understand it?
Yeah.
That's my sketch. I would just go, here's a cow, here's a thing, and they're going this way, and all I'm gonna do is draw a stick figure and then put an arrow that he's facing that way.
Yeah.
I don't even bother with drawing a side view of a person or whatever. You know? So every shortcut that you can do just to get the product out, you know. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes, Gerry.
Okay.
Yeah, I pretty much work on projects by myself, solo, and I also work on other projects in collaboration with other artists. And a benefit from working with other artists is that they get to push you to do better. Like for instance with Arnold, he pushes me to do a better stuff, better work with my writing. Yeah, because sometimes he'd turn in a page and I would, I have to really do the dialogue really well. You know?
To match the quality.
Yeah, or sometimes I would erase a lot of the things I wrote and just let the artwork speak for itself. And sometimes that happens. But in working solo, how can you do that? How can you push yourself if there's nobody really pushing you except yourself?
Yeah.
So you really just have to push yourself. Just do the best you can. When I was doing Elmer, I made sure that each page was the best I can do at that time. You know, I didn't go, oh, tomorrow I can do a better job of this. No, that day I will do the best I can. So that's how I pushed myself. And I did that with every page until I finished it. Nowadays, I sometimes I prefer working with other artists because of that collaborative opportunity, really, of finding new dimensions to my story that I didn't think of before. Like working with Kevin. Kevin is a really young artist, and he's really just starting out. But I see the potential in his work, and already the earlier pages that he did was he's redrawing it now.
Okay.
Because the pages he's doing now is really good, and compared to what he did before, he wants to redo them.
Okay.
You know? So that's probably why.
His own initiative.
That's probably why it didn't get to finish it for Komikon. That's why it's for next year. So that's the artist pushing me to do better work. I'm pushing him to do better work. That's something I look forward in a collaborative. But I also want to do my own stuff. Yeah, the only challenge there is to find
Motivation.
not only really the motivation but the time, because I'm very busy working for Marvel because inking is a very time-consuming.
Yeah.
Time-consuming.
It's very ridiculous.
Yeah, and sometimes I find it hard to find time to work on my own stuff. But now I feel I have to because one of the reasons why I quit back in 2005 inking because I wanted so bad to do my own stories.
Right.
I had to quit inking. Now I can't afford to because I can't afford to let go of my inking job anymore because the last time I did that, it wasn't economically, financially good for me. Yeah. So now I won't let it go, but at the same time, I can no longer afford to keep my own stories to myself. I have to.
You have to find a way to get.
Yeah, I
creative
really have to find a
put
way.
paper to pen paper. Sorry.
Yeah. Find a schedule for it. I really just have to do it.
Any other questions? I have. If they don't have any questions, I'll have one. Because it's basically a panel about you guys invading the U.S. market, having your work published there. How important was it to have your work published in the U.S.? I mean, Rod and Sir Gerry mostly were based here, so you could publish here, and Kelly, you were based in Singapore. How important was it still to make sure that the North American market in the U.S. gets your work published out there?
It's huge. That's who you're writing to. Like if you're doing English comic books, that's where you want to sell it, right? If you're going to do straight Filipino comic books, and this is your market, right? If I was in Singapore and I want to do Mandarin, same thing. Like it's huge. That's where the big players are, and you got to get out there. And by having a North American publisher, it's like I'm there.
Right.
So my publisher does 20 cons a year. They're in comic book stores. They're all this other stuff, right? So they're all the things that I can't physically do. I can't physically do it. I can't afford to do it, right? So the publisher's doing all that stuff for me. So it's extreme. Like I had Marcosia, which Starboard was initially at, and they're a UK one. And I picked the Marcosia because that they're known, they're this, but it wasn't the North American market. So Starboard wasn't being seen except via digital comicsology. And so the problem with that was we weren't getting any sales back. you know, because they're taking 50%. And it's also a hard thing to market when it's just straight digital, right? So,
Yeah.
so that's why I chose Insane Comics and then the other publishers I worked with, because I need that North American presence if I want to do this as a career.
That's actually a very, very good question. I wanted to do comics and publish it in the US because I wanted to see if I could do it. You know, because it doesn't mean I'm alienating my audience here in the Philippines because Filipinos can read English anyway.
Yeah.
And
It's kind of broadening your audience.
yeah, I wanted to see if I could play with the big boys.
Yeah.
And see how I will do when I publish my work there. And it's also kind of a pride thing. I wanted to see what a Filipino can do and how a Filipino can do competing with people abroad. Are really that good enough to do it? So I wanted to find out. I've been inspired by fellow Filipinos who have been successful, especially Rod Espinosa. He hasn't mentioned it yet, but Courageous Princess was nominated for an Eisner. So I wanted to see if I could do it myself. You know, I really didn't make that as an objective. You know, but you know, it was in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
You know, so I really pushed it. I really pushed to make Elmer the best that I could do, and see how I will do over there.
Yeah.
And thankfully enough, it was a bit of a success for me.
You know, what Gerry said, you just want to test yourself and see if you're capable of doing it. And also, you know, you gotta be honest, you know, you want to make a living at it. So, and that's the biggest market there is. That's just a simple fact. You know, if you can make it there, you know, yeah, exactly, like New York, you know. And in fact, the first time I said foot in New York, that's the music that was playing in my head.
Yeah.
You know, that was the New York music. But yeah, if you can, you know, of course you want the sales, you know. I mean, that's the thing that you know we want us to be our livelihood. You want to be able to pay your bills with this. So yeah, those are the practical sides of being in this business, you know. And that's the biggest market, you know, and that's also where you'll get the most clients, because there's also like a ton of guys with cash, you know. That sometimes I still work with, occasionally I still work with some random guy who would message me and said, you know, I have a project. So okay, just show it to me, and you know, let me know what kind of rates we're talking about and all that. And you begin that relationship again, because there's a lot of guys with cash there. You know, they're just like you and me. You know, some of them work a regular job, and they're a lawyer or something, but they want their story to be told. So you know, they tell you this is what I envision, and everything like that, and then you know that's where was I going with it? Anyway,
Make it in the U.S. market.
yeah, making it in the U.S. market. Yeah, because I well, you know, I'm into this new business right now. I have a board game, so it's the same thing. You're trying to promote it, right? So I'm experiencing something that I haven't experienced in a long time, which is like a total newbie in another field,
Right.
you know. So I'm now like, okay, these are the things I can take from my comic book experience and apply here in this new business. And it's the same thing. You're unknown there. Nobody knows you, and nobody knows your board game. So I'm starting from the ground up. And at first, I promoted this board game in Australia. I was just there to visit relatives. But you know, I thought, I might as well. There's a show here. So I happen to have my board game along. So I signed up for the show, and you know, actually flew to Canberra for it. So yeah, I spent. Sometimes you have to spend. You know, that's another thing, you have to spend for it. So I found out a lot about it, and they all say, even the board game people say the U.S. is the biggest market. So you know, okay. So I guess I thought the same thing with the comics. You know. The U.S. is the biggest market, and you'll get the most clients there, the most readers. You know, and that'll sustain you, hopefully. You know, till your next project. So,
Any other questions? Okay, I guess that's it. Thank you very much. Gerry Alanguilan. Thank you for sharing your experiences about making it in the U.S. market, self-publishing. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
I have some free comics here to whoever wants them.
Hardcovers.
So
Look at
thanks for
hardcovers.
coming. Come on forward.